Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Twins Talk Arsenal. Today we're going to talk about some news which has come out of the Arsenal camp. That apparently Arsenal are willing to spend 60 million on Martin Odegaard to get him out of Real Madrid in the summer. And I think me and Stas have a few opposing views on this transfer. Personally, I think not that it's like a great bit of business from Arsenal, because 60 million is a huge amount of money and we've seen what we can do with huge amounts of money mistakenly like before, but we saw him come on against Olympiacos, and he was our best player in the two matches before that. He's scored 2 goals and played very well for us. I don't think it would be the worst thing. I don't think it would be us throwing money away. He's going to have a higher sell-on value. He's captain for Norway at the moment, and I only see him getting better the more he plays in the Premier League. But I think you have some differing opinions. Didn't you compare him to like Eddie Nketiah?
No. My comment was, I think when you look at a player like Eddie Nketiah, he's shown, in the youth levels that he can definitely deliver, score goals. He's done it for the England youth setup as well. He scored a large number of goals. I think he's, the top goal scorer for the under-21s or whatever it is. But, he's not quite delivered for Arsenal in the Premier League and, in all competitions. When given his chance, he hasn't really grasped it.
I think you're seeing Odegaard deliver for Arsenal.
Odegaard is delivering, but I think the kind of difference is, this is like Eddie Nketiah going out to a team like Crystal Palace or whatever, say scores 10 Premier League goals, does a half-decent job, but he's still not world-class. And then we're demanding 60 million. My point with Odegaard, I think he's good. I think he's definitely improved the team. This is definitely an Arsenal team which is lacking creativity. So I do think Odegaard would be a worthy addition, but I still think he's still at a very early stage in his career. He's kind of like Pepe, Odegaard's having a good season for us. He's having a good week for us. He is playing well in the games he's playing, but we need to see, firstly, if he can do it on a consistent basis. And also, we do need to see, when I say consistent basis, I mean for the rest of the season. And then after that, we do need to see how much they want. I think if Real Madrid were to demand, 25, 30 million, I wouldn't say that's bad by any means. I just think, though, to spend 60 million on him as an example, even if that's the upper limit, fine. But for us to spend 60 million on him, I do think is quite a lot of money. When you look at Pepe, I know it's, we're paying it in installments over a 5-year period, but we paid 70 million for him.
Yeah.
When you look at Lacazette, he at least had a really good season in France. He scored, I think it was the top goal scorer in that season for in the French league. He was the top goal scorer for Lyon. When you look at Aubameyang, was the top goal scorer for a number of years for Dortmund. He was courted by Real Madrid. And these players, we didn't spend 60 million on.
I mean, look, I get all that, right? But we were signing Lacazette and Aubameyang for a different reason. We were signing them to come into Arsenal, make an immediate impact and immediately be some of the best players in the Premier League. And they were at not the end of their careers, but we were signing them to not be prospects for the future. But Odegaard, I think, yes, 60 million is a lot of money, but you're paying for that potential. You're paying for that sell-on value. Say in 4 or 5 years' time, if it doesn't quite work out, you can hopefully still sell him for a decent amount and recuperate some of the loss. And I think if you look at the kind of alternatives which Arsenal have discussed, like Buendia from Norwich, you're looking at a minimum of 40 million for Buendia. And that's for a guy with championship experience, as opposed to Odegaard, who's a fully fledged international in Norway, got Premier League experience, played a whole season in La Liga and smashed it as well. And I know he's not getting into the Real Madrid team, but I think that's more down to his relationship with Zidane than anything. So I don't know. I don't think 60 million is huge money, especially for Arsenal. But in today's market, is it crazy? I don't know.
I wouldn't call it crazy. We're not quite paying 200 million for Mbappe.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just think, given Arsenal's resources, I don't know if it will necessarily be money well spent. You look, going back to Pepe, he kind of falls into the same bracket. He's a young player. which we spent a lot of money on. He's a prospect for the future. You know, that's the reason we bought him ahead of Zaha. He was younger, so he's potentially got more of a sell-on value. I'm not saying it hasn't worked out for Pepe. He's showing glimpses of that price tag, but it is only glimpses. And I don't know, maybe it's me being a bit old school with, player prices and whatnot. But when you spend 60 million on a player, I don't know, I'd be looking at Odegaard, and in my mind, I'd be thinking we need 10 to 15 goals and 10 to 15 assists season on season from him. We need a player that, if we're going to spend big money, we need him to come in and deliver. We don't need him to come in and be a prospect for the future. Don't get me wrong. I think it's good he's young and he can develop, but it's a fine line. We need someone that can come in and develop and be better, of course, but at the same time, we need him to hit the ground running. We don't need someone that's going to get 2 goals and 2 assists in a season. We can get Danny Ceballos on loan for a 3rd season for that. I don't know. I just think we need a little bit more. Also, to an extent, there's potential to be savvy in the market. Maybe there's options we haven't explored. You look at players like Kieran Tierney. We didn't buy him for the highest amount of money. We bought him for about 20, 25 odd million. But look how he's come in. He's done a good job. You look to the Championship. Like Aston Villa brought Ollie Watkins. So it was about 25, 30 million. So it wasn't cheap, but it wasn't 60 million. He's come in, he's smashed it for Aston Villa. He's done a good job. There are these success stories. I know to an extent it might not be every scenario, but I don't think we need to go out and, spend 60 million on a player which isn't getting 10, 15 goals in a season for Arsenal.
I mean, you say that, but he's just started his career at Arsenal. In the last 3 games, he scored 2 goals. He came on against Olympiacos and was our best player, I thought. And I think the kind of benefits for spending this money, right, is if we lose him, don't sign a replacement that's good enough, and then like Emil Smith-Rowe gets injured, we're right back to the same kind of position and form which we were at the beginning of this season, where we were losing every single game with no creativity, nothing going forward. So spending that money is a lot of money, but at least you've suddenly got a backup to Emil Smith-Rowe, right, if he gets injured, which is important for Arsenal. And then also, I know you might be able to get a cheaper option, right? So you talked about like Ollie Watkins being signed for like 30 million from the Championship, Buendia being signed for like 40 million, which is still, I think personally, if you're going to spend 40 million, you might as well spend 60, right? But you're also looking at like the kind of first 6 months which you're going to lose, right? Because the player that you signed might not have played in the Premier League, like Pepe didn't. He took a year to adapt to the Premier League. They also will take a while to kind of get used to Arsenal and get used to Arteta and get used to London when they move. So you're kind of giving up 6 months to possibly a year, right? And the kind of downfall for Arsenal is because of that, accommodating that kind of player, we could miss out on that promotion. We could have a similar poor run that we had this season, where now it looks like we're going to miss out on the Champions League, right? So the kind of economic, like not misfortunes, like the economic downfalls of a decision like that are kind of hard to like understand as well. Whereas if Odegaard plays really well for the rest of the season for Arsenal, is settled in the club, you're going to pay a lot of money for a player that's going to come straight back in and perform well. So I think there is a benefit to that as well. It's not quite like Pepe. Pepe we spent 70 million on, and then he came in and everyone kind of found out what he was about. But Odegaard, we're going to get 4 or 5 months to see really how much he can settle in with the club. And also, I know you can get. So last thing, I know you can get cheap options, right? But Odegaard's already got pedigree. He was known from when he was 16, like internationally all over the world. I think that's going to protect his value moving forward as well, more than a player you signed from the Championship that might have a good season. So hopefully you will secure that sell-on value as well.
Yeah, but what I would say is how many players have they're young players, they've got a lot of prospects, and then they don't make it. They don't have what it takes in the end. Could he be one of those players? At the end of the day, we won't know. It depends how his career pans out. But there are question marks. But it's one, like, he's done well when he's gone out on loan, but he's not smashed it. He's done well, but like as an example, when he was on loan last season, he didn't end the season with 15 goals and 10, 15 assists. he had an average season. And, going back to where you talk about he's settling in this season, and next season we can get him potentially, and he's already had that, settling in period. We had Dani Ceballos last year, and look at how that's turned out. You would have expected a lot more from Dani Ceballos this season, now that he's, in theory, settled into the club. He's had a year behind him, but it hasn't quite worked out. Don't get me wrong, I do think Odegaard to be a permanent transfer would be good business for Arsenal. I do think it's something Arsenal need overall, but I just don't know if it's worth that much money. I think if we could get him a little bit cheaper, of course, I think he looks to be a good player. And, he is one that he's got the prospect for the future as well. He does look to be one that he'd retain that sell-on value. But I think at this moment in time, 60 million is a lot of money for a player which, he has had a lot of hype, a lot of, he's got a lot of potential. I'm not saying he hasn't delivered, but I don't think he's reached that potential. Also, say as an example, you talk about how, he's had a good week. He has had a good week, of course. He scored 2 goals in the last 3 games, if you include the Olympiacos game today. But if you go before this week, he hadn't scored for Arsenal. So, if we were having this conversation a week ago...
He wasn't playing for Arsenal either, but yeah.
He started near enough every game for Arsenal, though, since he's come in January.
He's not played that many games.
But he started every game, but he hadn't scored or assisted before. So, if we were to have this conversation a week ago, his goal involvement is 0, and he needs to improve it. Don't get me wrong, he has had a good week. There's definitely more to come from him. I do think he's a good player, a very intelligent player. I don't want to compare him to Arsenal legends, but he does remind me of, like a Dennis Bergkamp-esque player. He's... When I say esque, I'm not saying by any, we're not going back to Aubameyang and Thierry Henry. He don't get me wrong, I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination that he's on that level, but there's certain things he does, or a young Fabregas as an example. There's certain things he does which he shows glimpses of being capable of doing, seeing these passes that no one else can see. But I just think for that amount of money, especially with COVID, which is probably going to drive down the value of players a little bit, I just think 60 million might be a lot of money. The other thing as well, I don't know, it's tough. When we've spent big money, it's tended to be even Gazidis, who might not have been the best judge of character. So, maybe Edu and Arteta together are better judge of character. These are 2 players that, know the Arsenal way. Eddie was part of the Invincibles team. So I do think they have a better understanding of what's required for Arsenal to, push forward, rather than Gazidis while he was at the club. But just generically speaking, if you look at Arsenal's record when signing big players, they haven't always kicked on. Pepe we're still waiting on. Lacazette, he hasn't really kicked on. They're saying we're going to look to sell him in the summer. Try and get a little bit of value from him, a little bit of a sell-on fee. Aubameyang, don't get me wrong, he has come in, he has scored a lot of goals. You can't fault him for that. But in terms of all-round performance as a forward, has he really, delivered what was expected? Don't get me wrong, as a forward, the most important thing is the goals, and he has delivered that. But in terms of all-round forward play, would you have maybe expected a bit more from him? Partey, is a tough one. I think we definitely see what he's about, and we'll definitely see it next season. But he has taken a while to settle in. I don't know. I just think I do think Odegaard's good. I do think he'd be a worthy addition to Arsenal. I don't think that's in question at all. But it's just a fee. I think it is a lot of money. And also, you wouldn't want it to halt Emil Smith-Rowe's development as well. I know we've seen they can play together, but I don't know what the system will be in the longer term. Will it be Pepe on the left, Saka on the right, and then in that case you only have room for one number 10?
Look, I think they can play together, and then if one of them gets injured, you've got the other one as fullback. So I think that's not a bad thing. And I also think that 60 million is a lot of money, right? But if you look at what Real Madrid are looking to do with him, I think they're either going to sell him to Arsenal, or they're probably going to use him in a deal to get Haaland out of Borussia Dortmund. And in that case, he's going to be worth a lot of money to Real Madrid as well, because I know Borussia Dortmund are quite keen on Odegaard. So I think you're going to have to spend that kind of money. And yeah, I mean, I get that we disagree on this. To be honest, I don't think it would be a bad signing by Arsenal, but I do think we would have. You're looking at like missed opportunities for Arsenal, like because obviously we're putting 60 million into Odegaard. That's investment which is not going into other places in the team. And I do think that if we lost Odegaard, we'd have to buy a creative midfielder anyway, which would cost minimum 35, 40 million. But that's maybe an extra 20 million, which we can invest in other areas of the squad. Say we've got an aging forward line now, right? And unless we transfer Martinelli into being our new striker when we lose Lacazette, that's going to be an area which needs a bit of investment in it. So, it'll be interesting to see what we kind of do. But definitely, we can get Odegaard for less than 60 million. I would 100% jump on that. And yeah, if we can sign Odegaard and sign another forward, happy days. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. For anyone watching, like if you have an opinion on this and want to let us know, or if you agree with one of us more than the other, please write in the comments and like the video. And if you're new around here, feel free to subscribe as well. We're pumping out Arsenal content when we can after games, and also talking about interesting things which we think are affecting the club. Sas, is there anything else you want to say before we head off?
No. I think we've covered everything. I think overall Odegaard would be a good signing. It's just a case of the fee and, what people think he's worth, how much they think he's worth, and what they think his value is to the team. So, yeah, if you guys have any additional comments on that, then, feel free to let us know, add it to the comments. If there's anything additional you'd like us to discuss, then again, add it to the comments, and, we'll be happy to have a video on it and, to discuss it accordingly.
All right, guys. Until next time, I'll catch you later on Up the Gooners. Bye-bye.